Picture this. You've spent 30 years paying off your home, finally own it outright, and you think you're set for a comfortable retirement. But what if I told you that very same home, the one you worked your whole life for, could be quietly working against you when it comes to your age pension? What if the size of your backyard, the suburb you live in, or even a granny flat you built for extra income could change how much money Centrelink sends you every fortnight? Sounds unbelievable, right? Stick around, because by the end of this video you're going to understand exactly how home ownership interacts with the age pension in Australia, and you might be shocked at what actually counts against you. Welcome back to Aussie Benefit, the channel where we break down superannuation, pensions, and government benefits in plain simple English so you always know exactly where you stand. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button right now, because we post videos every single week that could genuinely save you thousands of dollars in retirement. And if you find today's video helpful, smash that like button. It really helps this channel grow and helps more Aussies get access to information that actually matters. Today we're diving into one of the most misunderstood topics in the entire pension system, and that is the family home, and how owning it can affect your eligibility for the age pension. Most people assume that owning your home is purely a good thing when it comes to retirement, and in many ways it is. But there are some important details that Centrelink uses which many retirees simply don't know about until it's too late. So let's break it all down properly. To understand this topic, we first need to talk about how Centrelink actually assesses your eligibility for the age pension. There are two main tests that get applied, the income test and the assets test, and whichever one gives you the lower pension amount is the one that Centrelink will actually use. Now here's where the home comes into play. Under the assets test, your principal home is generally exempt, meaning its value is not counted when working out how much pension you receive. This is different to almost every other asset you own, including investment properties, shares, savings, and even the contents of your home above a certain value. So on the surface, it looks like owning your home is a completely safe move that protects your pension. However, the story gets more complicated the moment we look at how homeowners and non-homeowners are treated differently under the assets test thresholds. Homeowners are actually given a lower asset threshold compared to non-homeowners, because the government assumes that since your home is worth something and it's exempt, you don't need as much room in your other assets before your pension starts reducing. This means two people with the exact same amount of savings and investments could receive different pension amounts, simply because one owns a home and the other doesn't. It sounds a little unfair, but that is how the system currently works. Now let's talk about something that catches a lot of people off guard, and that is the size of your property and what's attached to it. If your home sits on a large block of land, generally more than about 2 hectares, Centrelink may not treat the entire property as your exempt principal home. In these situations, they can apply what's called the extended land use test, which looks at whether the extra land is being used to produce an income or is simply excess to your normal domestic needs. If it's just sitting there unused and it's beyond that size threshold, part of that land value could actually be counted as an assessable asset, which then reduces your pension. This is a huge shock for people living in rural or semi-rural areas who assumed their whole property was automatically protected. Another area that trips people up is granny flats and secondary dwellings. If you build a granny flat on your property, or if you move into a granny flat arrangement with family, there are very specific rules about whether that counts as your home, whether it's considered a financial arrangement, and whether the money paid for that granny flat interest could actually be assessed as a gift or a deprived asset if it's below a certain reasonable value. This is a legal minefield, and many families accidentally trigger asset test penalties simply because they didn't realize the arrangement needed to meet specific value guidelines. On top of that, if you sell your home with the intention of downsizing or moving into aged care, there is a temporary asset exemption period, usually up to 12 months, where the sale proceeds are exempt from the assets test while you're deciding what to do next. But that exemption doesn't last forever, and once that window closes, any unused proceeds sitting in your bank account will be counted as an assessable asset going forward. There's also the deeming rules to consider, because even though the exemption protects the value of the home itself, any money you get from downsizing or from a reverse mortgage against your home can be deemed to earn income, which then affects the income test side of your pension assessment as well. So even though the family home feels like the safest asset you can hold, the surrounding financial decisions you make involving that home Whether it's renovating, subdividing, using excess land, arranging a granny flat, or selling and downsizing, can all quietly shift how much pension you actually receive. So what's the big takeaway from all of this? Your family home is still one of the most protected assets you can hold when it comes to the age pension, but protected does not mean completely untouchable. The moment your property involves excess land, secondary dwellings, granny flat arrangements, or a sale and downsizing plan, the rules become far more complicated, and small mistakes can end up costing you real pension dollars every fortnight. This is exactly why it's so important to plan ahead, keep good records, and ideally speak with a financial advisor or Services Australia directly before making any major decisions involving your home during retirement. Knowledge really is power here, and understanding these rules early can help you protect the pension income you've worked so hard to become eligible for. If this video helped clear up some of the confusion around home ownership and the age pension, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more retirees who need this information. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Aussie Benefit so you don't miss our upcoming videos where we'll be covering deeming rates, downsizer contributions, and how gifting rules can affect your pension too. Drop a comment below and let me know if you or someone in your family has ever run into a surprise with the assets test. I read every single comment, and I'd love to hear your story. Thanks so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.